Welcome everyone to the virtual exhibition of the Art22 Computer Programming for the Arts class here at UC Santa Barbara. Today's 20-minute presentation will highlight final projects from a number of the students who took the course this spring. But before we get to the projects, I just wanted to take a moment to thank all the students for being so flexible and dedicated during this quarter. There were so many challenges to learning in this environment, but you all maintained such a wonderful energy and drive, and it inspired me to make sure I was giving you all my best as well. For many of you, this was your first experience with computer programming, and for almost all of you, it was your first venture into creative coding, or coding for artistic or creative output. And as we'll see in just a few minutes, you all did some wonderful work, and I'm very proud of the art and code that you produced. There's so much stress and uncertainty right now, so many levels of our daily lives. But you all took it in stride, and I'm very thankful for the way you embraced all the constraints of this remote environment and the positivity and support that you showed and shared with each other. Thank you for being such a great group to work with, and without further delay, let's begin the virtual exhibition.
Hi, my project was just initially going to be a singular piece where it was kind of imitating the Santa Barbara sunset that I miss seeing, but when I was playing around with some of the orders of the codes, I found a way to make them accidentally burst in a sense that it looks like a sunrise instead of a sunset. So I ended up creating two versions of very similar code, one where it looks like there's a sunrise and it's called Melting Sunrise, because the background looks like it's melting into one and there are sun rays bursting from the center, while the other one is called as Dancing Sunset and it has particles bursting from the center that beats with the music. The background image is taken by Anne Spratt of Cocoa Beach and the music is called Sunset by Petit Biscuit. Hope you like my piece. Thanks.
Hello everybody, my name is Mike Barajas and the name of my project is Reverie. For this project I was originally inspired by how we can create our own worlds when we explore the topic of 3D shapes in processing. I thought the best way to expand on this is to demonstrate a basic image of what happens when one daydreams. At the same time, I wanted to challenge myself and expand my creative uses with machine learning and image processing. So what you'll see is that this is an interactive program that uses a webcam to put a shadowed figure of yourself in empty space. You are then able to play within the elements of fire, water, or wind after striking a thinking pose, almost as if you were daydreaming. Now, this is not the most elaborate program and it is still far from perfect. Any further, I would first like to implement more elements to play with, like earth. As I mentioned, there is only fire, water, and wind, but time was the biggest enemy here and I wasn't able to get much more done. Next, I would like to have more accurate machine learning samples because the program was not able to clearly identify between a thinking pose and me just waving my hands around. Along these lines, I would like to reduce the complexity of the data being sent. To get the program to work well, I needed to have a red background, a green sweater, a purple sleeve, and an orange ball to be able to select the elements to play with, which is not efficient at all. This will just let the program be more accessible and fun to use by anybody. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy my demonstration.
Hello everyone, my name's Michelle and this is my final project. So the basic idea of this project is that I wanted to make a virtual geode that grows according to a song that's playing. And I am an earth science major, but I picked earth science specifically because I think rocks and crystals are beautiful and I wanted to try to model that the best I could. So I really focused on growing the crystals in a realistic way. You can see there's 14 separate variables that go into each crystal. It's a whole lot going on right here, but it makes it so that the crystals use models that I made in Tinkercad for their base shape, and those models are accurate to real life. They're the shapes of how quartz crystals actually grow in nature. Also, the crystals grow in layers. If you can picture stacking cups, it basically does that with the crystal's base shape rather than just extending that shape. Also, I'm going to switch to a specific view at one point in the program that's supposed to look like you've cracked open the geode and are looking inside of it, and you can see the concentric rings around the outside. So the trickiest part of this project was probably keeping track of all these variables and also the math for placing crystals on the outside of a sphere and then orienting them in the proper direction so they don't grow outside. And also another hard part was getting a little fancy with minim, but the final effect is that it uses the song that you've selected to play to determine the base hue that it will use in generating the crystals, and also on the beats of the song, all the crystals will flash white. And the song I picked is Opal Waltz by Super Naive, and I hope you enjoy.
Brenda has the following to say of her final project. Recently, I've been doing some research on child violence, and this is some of the data that I came across. Of the 3.5 million children who were the subject of an investigation in the fiscal year 2018, 678,000 of them were determined to be victims of maltreatment. This is up from 674,000 victims in 2017. In total, 60.8% of victims were neglected, 10.7% were physically abused, and 7% were sexually abused. More than 15% were victims of 2 or more maltreatment types. This data shocked me, and I wanted to call attention to this topic through my final project. The theme of my project is called Every Child Deserves a Starry Sky. At first, I used 8 different scenes to depict the violence that children suffer. Based on previous work in this class, I planned to make it look like a virtual museum and decided to place the objects in a circle. I put a child's face in the center and had the scene surround it, which is symbolic of the fact that maltreatment that happens to children is like an endless cycle. When we get in the child's face, we can see the reverse birthday cake and some floating lights. The reverse means this child really didn't have it. The starry sky represents a fancy world this child wants to have. I know this work is very simple, but I want to use it to make people pay more attention to children's violence and to give them a starry childhood.
For this project, I created a world of spheres representing different popular travel destinations. We start high above the city. Whenever I'm in a big city, I'm usually yearning to be outside, away from that city, but this is where we tend to exist. All the while, we are just wanting to be out and about in a jungle somewhere, far off and exotic. Or maybe we want to be on the top of a mountain in the freezing cold, preparing ourselves for whatever adventure lies ahead. On my way back home after a cold, mountainous adventure, I always find myself having to travel through the desert surrounding the high mountains, where the runoff erodes the stones of both formations. The music I chose to include is called Late for Work by STS9. We work so we can survive in the city, but also so we can go out on. All these worlds are in a series of highways on the ground, rotation over the water, through the air. This interactive world of spheres give the user and these different worlds need an escape.
I call this piece Tranquil Fish. This year has been tough for everyone. I know I've been dealing with a level of stress that hasn't been pleasant. So for this project, I wanted to focus on something calming. So I chose to create what I've always seen as a glowing gem of tranquility, the fish tank. I created a space that exuded tranquility, but also illustrated the tension of this year. Using high-resolution images for the table in the background, I created the idea of peace and stability, while the tank was made to be a more low-resolution form to illustrate the harshness. The same can be said for the music choice. The song is called Green Clouds by Trans Celtica. It starts off light and peaceful and then transitions into a more active phase, which I feel complements the feeling I was trying to convey. All in all, I feel this piece was fairly successful. The code was a little bit more challenging than I expected it to be, though.
Benjamin writes, "For my project, I used the ideas from the essay Modeling Trees with a Space Colonization Algorithm to create fractal growth trees in 3D. The center sphere grows when the mouse is pressed. The branches from my tree vary in thickness as they grow further away from the sphere. I enjoyed choosing the colors for this tree, and the geometry is manipulated to represent a personal vision I had for the color.
Hello everyone, my name is Mercedes Ochoa, and I just wanted to say thank you to Mark and Weidi for an awesome class. Thank you for all your help and your understanding. Anyways, this project I'm doing is kind of towards just the achievement of everyone in this class. I know for me, having this course, I was very uncertain. I was scared. I was very unsure, not knowing if I was going to succeed in this class, given that it was a coding class, and for me, having to be on campus in a classroom with real people, is probably the best setting for it. So for me, this was a great chance for me to overcome my own fears and just to show that we all can do it, considering the circumstances that we were forced to go online. So anyways, with the COVID-19 and all, I just wanted to say thank you to those who sent me their photos. To those who didn't, that's quite all right. But this is just an acknowledgement just to each and every one of you that just to know that anything that comes their way, that we can overcome it, and which we all did. And so this was just a way for just to kind of reflect and just to be proud of yourselves. So that's what pretty much the final is, just a
an accomplishment and achievement with each and every one of us, and just to be proud. And so I have it kind of like in a public setting in a way, just so it feels like all our achievements, everyone can see it, and just to see it is just that much more, an awe. So anyways, let's see, hope you enjoy it. The song is by Nathan Flint. So it's called Succeed, I Will Succeed.